User in Lagos, Nigeria. This is Biscon Tv News. I'm Ime Emmanuel. Let's look at the top stories making the news this hour. On the national scene, INEC reports over 7.4 million pre-registrant in 8 weeks. And federal government orders VCs to enforce no work, no pay policy against striking lecturers. In business, federal government owes Gencos fresh 1 trillion naira in 6 months. On the foreign scene, Netanyahu praises Trump as greatest friend Israel ever had during historic Jerusalem address. In sport, Bendel Insurance appoints Kennedy Oboye as new technical advisor. Now the news in detail. The Independent National Electoral Commission INEC has announced that a total of 7,415,760 Nigerians completed their online pre-registration during week 8 of the continuous voter registration exercise, which covered the period from October 6 to 12, 2025. The figures were released by the Commission on Monday. According to the update, 3,877,330 of the pre-registrants were female, representing 52.28%, while 3,430 registrants were male, accounting for 47.72%. Borno State recorded the highest number of voter pre-registration in the country with a total of 746 entries, followed by Osun State, which registered 632,751 individuals, and Lagos with 590,341 pre-registration. Meanwhile, the federal government has directed vice-chancellors of federal universities to immediately implement the no work, no pay policy on members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities ASU participating in the ongoing nationwide strike. The directive was contained in a circular dated October 13, 2025 and signed by the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa. In the circular, the ministry expressed disappointment over the continued industrial action by ASU despite repeated appeals for dialogue. It warned that the government would no longer tolerate actions that breach existing labor laws. And still on the news, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Kudirat Kekereekun, has applauded the National Association of Judges of Nigeria following its admission as a member of the International Association of Judges, which main objective is to safeguard the independence of the judiciary and to guarantee human rights and freedom. She described it as a moment of pride and privilege for Nigeria to join a community of judges committed to the rule of law, judicial independence, and the protection of rights. The NAJN, which will represent Nigeria at the Global Judicial Body, was admitted during the 67th annual meeting of the National Association of Judges of Nigeria, which will represent Nigeria at the Global Judicial Body, was admitted during the 67th annual meeting of the International Association of Judges held in Baku, Azerbaijan, making Nigeria the 93rd member of the association. The Nigeria's agricultural sector is set for a major financing boost as the European Union has approved a £190 million, about 320.5 billion naira credit line to expand lending to farmers and agribusinesses through Nigerian commercial banks and development finance institutions. The facility was announced during a bilateral meeting between senior European Investment Bank executive and a delegation from the Federal Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning, confirmed in a statement issued on Monday by the Minister of Budget and Economic Planning Special Advisor on Media, Bolaji Adeniyi. Currently, Nigeria already benefits from several EU-supported programs, including an £18 million technical assistance grant and a £50 million credit facility to deepen access to finance in the pharmaceutical industry. The latest EU-Nigerian financing deal is expected to support Nigeria's effort to modernize its agricultural sector, improve food security, and strengthen export competitiveness. Now let's take a quick break from here. When we come back, it will be business news. Stay tuned. And in business, the federal government's debt owed to electricity generation companies as real naira in the first half of 2025. And this is the outstanding power subsidy payment to electricity generation companies covering the first and second quarter of the year. A report by the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission's second quarter report for 2025 showed that the government incurred a subsidy obligation of 514.35 billion in the second quarter, following 536.40 billion naira in the first quarter, bringing the total to over 1.05 trillion naira in the first 6 months of the year. According to NERC, the rising obligation is due to the continued absence of cost-reflective tariff, forcing the government to pay the difference between the actual cost of generation and what consumers are charged. And up next is foreign news. Stay tuned. You're watching the news on Biscon TV. Now let's move to the foreign scene, where Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu delivered a tribute to US President Donald Trump, calling him the greatest friend that the State of Israel has ever had in the White House. During a high-profile address in Jerusalem marking the return of hostages and the enduring US-Israel alliance, Netanyahu emphasized Trump's pivotal role in recent historic and military development, expressing gratitude for several landmarks such as the Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights, 2020 peace plan, and the ancestral homeland of the Jewish people. He went on to still thank Trump on behalf of himself and the nation for supporting military initiatives like Operation Rising Lion and Operation Midnight Hammer. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, it will be sports news. Stay tuned. Audio
Hello and welcome to Sports segment on Biscon TV News. Bendel Insurance have confirmed the appointment of Kennedy Boboye as their new technical advisor. The former Nigerian international replaces Greg Ikenoba, who was sacked 2 weeks ago following the team's poor start to the season. According to the club's management, Boboye's appointment takes immediate effect under a 2-year contract based on his proven track record and experience in the Nigeria Premier Football League. The 51-year-old tactician will be officially unveiled in Benin on Tuesday. Bendel Insurance recently lost 1-0 to Ikorodu City in their NPFL Matchday 8 fixture in Lagos. Now, ahead of the 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifiers, Benin Republic captain Steve Money says the Cheetahs are in Uyo to defeat the Super Eagles of Nigeria in their 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifier. The crucial Matchday 10 encounter takes place on Tuesday at the Godswill Akpabio International Stadium in Uyo. Benin currently top Group C with 17 points and need only a draw to qualify for their first ever World Cup, depending on results elsewhere. Moni, who scored in their last win over Rwanda, says his team is determined to make history. He assured that the Cheetahs will give everything to secure their tickets to the global showpiece. That's all on sports.
And finally, on entertainment, rapper Emeka Akumefule, popularly known as Black Bones, has unveiled the track list for his highly anticipated fourth studio album, No Excuses, set to be released on October 17, 2025. The album features a lineup of 15 guest artists from Africa and beyond. The album also boasts of collaboration with notable artists such as UK rapper AJ Tracy, Nigerian heavyweight Olamide Fino, Young John, Barry J. Sinaliski, and many more. And No Excuses is poised to further cement Blackburn's position as one of Africa's most creative and commercially viable artists, and following the success of his previous project Sex Over Love and Young Preacher. And that's it on the news on Biscon TV. But before we go, let's look at the major highlights of the news again. On the national scene, INEC records over 7.4 million pre-registrant in 8 weeks. The federal government orders vice chancellors to enforce no work, no pay policy against striking lecturers. And in business, we told you that federal government is owing Genicos fresh 1 trillion naira in 6 months. On the foreign scene, Netanyahu praises Trump as the greatest friend Israel ever had and during historic Jerusalem address. And in sports, we told you that Bendel Insurance has appointed Kennedy Boboye as new technical advisor. The news was compiled and produced by David Asha and Ime Emmanuel. Many thanks for watching.
Celebrating Sir Kensington Adebutu at 90, a life of enterprise, philanthropy and legacy. On October 24th, 2025, we anticipate a grand celebration of a legendary giant in business and philanthropy. Sir Kensington Adebukunla Adebutu CON, the Odole Odua of the Source, as he marks another year of life and legacy. Born on October 24, 1935 in Ikperuremo, Ogun State, he emerged from humble beginning to become a pillar of industry, a pioneer in Lotto enterprise, and a benefactor whose reach touches education, healthcare, and community development. Starting his professional journey in sales and management before launching Premier Lotto Babaijebu, Sir Adebutu has built not just a business empire, but a name synonymous with trust, reliability, and employment creation. He has been honored with prestigious chieftaincy titles like Odole Odua, Balogun of Remoland, as well as federal awards of CON and OON. Recognitions that reflect his contributions to nation building and tradition. His philanthropic spirit is legendary, donating state-of-the-art educational facilities to universities, supporting classrooms and libraries, sponsoring hospital projects, and uplifting the poor with compassion. His generosity extends beyond material gifts. He has invested in people, mentorship, and legacy, inspiring countless young entrepreneurs and community leaders through his example and support. As family, friends, business colleagues, and the communities he has courtly touched prepare to salute him, we take this moment to reflect on a life that has shaped industry, empowered education, and lifted the voice of service. Happy birthday, Sir Kensington Adebukunla Adebutu, CON, OON, or Dole Odua of the Source. With deepest respect and warmest wishes from Prince Bisi Olatilo and all of us at Biscon Communications. The Federal Capital Territory, FCT, on Tuesday, 7th October 2025, was agog as eminent personalities from the political class and other walks of life, dressed in colorful attire, gathered at the magnificent and popular Los Angeles Event Center, Plot 1069, Amadou Bello Way, Kado, Abuja. The event was the night of tribute and service of songs in honor of the late administrator par excellence, Chief Cornelius Olatunji Adebayo, former governor of Kwara State. The opening prayer was offered by Reverend Isuga. The first Bible reading was taken by Baba's daughter, Mrs. Abimbola Dayo Adewoye, followed by the hymn. Tribute 1 was offered by some of Baba's grandchildren, a moment of solemn reflection, after which Temi and Joshua took the second Bible reading.
My grandfather's garden, which he paid particular attention to the maintenance of, played host to many peaceful walks, jovial Christmas parties, and conversations on the porch with a rotation of visitors. Memories I'll cherish for a lifetime and selfishly ache to enjoy again. I feel as though my grandfather was a family member I felt closest to in the value recognized in arts and culture. As a child, I would refuse to leave his house without taking one object or another home with me, and that's every Sunday. I have been informed as I write this that a great deal of the objects are quickly returned, which explains my lack of a collection of beautiful carved statues, cast into objects, or photographs collected from around the world. As I got older, my fascination shifted to his wardrobe. Physical memories I've managed to retain, and which he always encouraged me to take and to wear. I'll treasure these clothes for the rest of my life.
Matthew chapter 5 verse 48, man. Be perfect, therefore, as your heavenly Father is perfect. To me, my grandpa was perfect. He was as perfect as a grandpa could possibly be. Great by every definition. Joyful, loving, and full of grace. To me, he was just the coolest person. With a presence larger than life, I looked up to him in more ways than one. When he was in town, I felt like everything was just a little brighter. We come home after a long day at school to see him sitting on the couch smiling. Just a breath of fresh air. That smile, I'll never forget it. It was warm, reassuring, a smile that spoke love and support without a single word. A smile that to us could fix anything.
Grandpa, I am writing this and I can't hold back the tears. I love my grandpa. He was a great man, even in his old age. He always had a smile on his face, even at the worst of times. I always had fun when he came over to stay with us in Lagos, and I always tried to be with him in Abuja. Every day of the week, I asked my dad if he could go to Abuja to see Grandpa. I remember the last moment we shared together. When we went to see him in the hospital, I cried a lot because he was in pain and I loved him so much. He was so kind. Even when he was sick, he was very fun to play with. He truly was the best grandpa I could have ever asked for. I remember when he used to play games with me. He was really fun to play and I enjoyed every moment.
I was born on the same day as my grandpa and shared his name. And with that came a connection that felt written into us from the start. The bond my grandfather and I has always been one of the greatest gifts of my life. If I could put my love for my grandfather into words, it would still never be enough. He was the heartbeat of so many of our happiest moments.
In line with the program, there was a music ministration titled In Christ Alone, anchored by the Abuja Metropolitan Music Society. The dignitaries include Professor Ibrahim Gambari, former Chief of Staff to the late President Buhari, Hajia Bola Shagaya, Ashiwaju Adegboyega Solomon Awomolu, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, DG, NAFDAC, Bishop David Abioye and his wife, His Excellency Honorable Emeka Ihediora, Senator Bukola Saraki, former President of the Senate, Senator Kabiru Gaya and his wife, former Governor of Kano State, Mr. Sheyi Tinubu, son of the President of Nigeria, Senator Dino Melaye, and many others. The second stage of tributes was eloquently delivered by Baba's beautiful daughter, Mrs. Oloruntoyosi Ebunlomo Adeoluwa. Her words were heartfelt and deeply moving.
I loved and adored my father, and I had a very special bond with him. He gave me the best upbringing and childhood that any child could ever wish for. My father was a caring man, filled with so much love for all. He was intentional, affectionate, and always thoughtful. He was kind words and actions to everyone. He was such a wise man. He was a great communicator. He spoke with clarity and with deep understanding. He spoke kindly and gently, yet with firmness. Most importantly, he spoke with empathy and with passion. He always spoke the truth, and he meant everything that he said at every point in time.
Three prominent personalities, Dr. David Ate, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, and former President of the Senate, Dr. Bukola Saraki, each gave detailed and powerful testimonies about Baba's life and legacy.
Oga was a man different from all men. Teosi has said a lot about his character. I, more than most, saw him in action at political level. Chief Siu Adebayo was incorruptible. He had courage. And one thing was this. Believe it or not, I used to be very rascally in secondary school. Believe it or not. Not the Gambari that you are seeing talking. But he called me once and he said, look, you have to pipe down. Because when you misbehave in a Lorry Provincial Secondary School, nobody will say this is just a rascality. They say it's because you are a member of the royal family. Humility, humility, and he led by example. He was a very humble man with a lot of achievements. Principled, honest man, humble man. And I believe that all we have to do is just pray that the Almighty God will take him back to heaven where he belongs, as one of his most faithful, dedicated servants here. May he rest in peace.
And we're here, and I'm here, and I'm sure a lot of us will take away. It is what we live in this life. It is what we do with it. Chief Siu Adebayo, everybody has said that integrity. He was courageous. And as a governor, he used to tell me where he felt something had to be done. He wasn't afraid to speak to power. And we lack that today in this society. And we can see what that leads us. That is why when we celebrate it, because it's one of a kind, I wish we had many leaders like him. But what I'm saying here, I used to tell him, because I respect the commitment he made. And I pray But the children and the great-grandchildren, I can see those that are going to be governors, though. I can see those that might be senators. They will leave this legacy of this name will continue. May his soul rest in perfect peace, and may Almighty God continue to bless this great family. Thank you for this opportunity.
At this point, another music ministration followed, after which the third Bible reading was rendered by Mrs. Yemisi Akomode. Baba's in-law also shared his words of tribute and testimony.
The best time you see him in his best elements are when he's with his grandchildren. You know, Daddy has this, he also spoke about the smile, but he has a laughter, you know, he has this laugh that will lighten up, he has this charm, you know, that will melt a polarized sky. You know, this is someone who walks in somewhere, and then, you know, the darkest room just brightened up with his personality. That is such a fantastic guy. So, in the passing of Chief Adebayo, the word has been a statesman of conviction, you know, someone who looks at things based on conviction. For me, I've lost someone who didn't see me as his son-in-law. He treated me as his own personal son. And the type of things he says to me, you know, you only say that to your son. So, Daddy, I can only say to you, live on, we'll miss you. Such an extraordinary, fantastic gentleman. Thank you.
The highlight of the night came when Bishop David Abioye delivered a stirring message titled, "What Will You Be Remembered For?" He admonished the congregation and prayed earnestly for the entire Adebayo family.
A great teacher and wise man, Dr. Miles Muro, has said, if you don't know the purpose of a thing, abuse and misuse is inevitable. Many today have wrong perspective of life, and I'm glad that the life of Chief CEO Adebayo neutralized much of these views of people. Many see life, here I said, the world is open to all. Live it and then live it. Live it. Live as much as it's allowed for you to be remaining to others. Chief CEO Adebayo, even though held enviable position, he held power, he had fame. His name rang bell while he was alive. He had recognitions, a global one for that matter. He had great awards that he obtained, titles conferred on him, but he never carried any of this on his head. Humble, accessible, reachable, embraceable. There are people in position today, you have to wait long hours at their gate before you see them.
The vote of thanks was given by one of Baba's sons, after which, as the evening drew to a close, the closing hymn was rendered. Finally, Reverend Isuga offered the closing prayer, bringing the night of tribute to a glorious and memorable end. As parts lined up in honor of the late political icon, Chief Olatunji Adebayo, ancient city of Ilorin came to a standstill on Friday, 10th October 2025. Dignitaries from all converged at the Kwara State Government Banquet Hall, GRA Ilorin, for the continuation of the historical night of tributes and service of songs. The event began with an opening prayer, followed by the first Bible reading and a congregational hymn. The atmosphere was further uplifted when popular music artist BJ Sachs performed, adding a refreshing musical touch to the evening.
played very important roles at different moments of our history. Whether as a former governor, an elected chieftain, a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, or a very leader, history testified that he acted with moral courage and humility. Was always a hero of the people, democracy, and good governance. As we mourn his departure, we are reminded that life is a fleeting journey, and what matters is the legacy of serving God and humanity. We want to raise well, fear the world, Your Excellency, and may God uphold the family at this time and always. Thank you, and God bless you.
An inspiring exhortation was then delivered by Professor Reverend O.K. Peter Joshua, titled Service with Integrity of the Heart. His message reflected the exemplary life of Chief Adebayo and the values he stood for.
And I want to share with you that it is one thing for us to speak of people when they depart. But the take home tonight is, what will God Himself say about you? When you and I will cross to the other side, it's not going to be what people say, it's going to be what God says about us. That's of great importance. What will God say? Well, for C.O. Adebayo, knowing him so well for 40 years in our personal deep friendship and being in a pastoral relationship with him for that long, I can tell you this, what God will say about him. The tribute that God will give him, the testimony that God even already has given to C.O. Adebayo. It's a tribute that God gave about him.
Special prayers were offered by Pastor Ayo Okeowo and Reverend S.O. Oladejo, after which the vote of thanks was given by Chief Adebayo's son, Engineer Cornelius Olusegun Adebayo. He expressed deep appreciation to all present for their support and solidarity.
On behalf of the family, we thank you, the church, UMCA, God and B, for anchoring this program. We thank everyone that has traveled from far and near, and we pray that the Lord will take you back to your destination safe. Tomorrow is another day. We pay our final respect to our Father tomorrow, and we hope you will be able to join us in Okolimi for the final ceremony. Thank you, have a great night, and God bless you.
As the evening drew to a close, the congregation rendered the closing hymn, Through the Love of Christ Our Savior, followed by the closing prayer offered by Reverend Danjuma Isuga. The event was both solemn and celebratory, a beautiful reflection of a life of purpose, leadership, and faith. The burial service and thanksgiving for Chief Cornelius Olatunji Adebayo were held in his hometown, Okeonigbi, on Saturday, 11th October 2025. The ancient town was agog as well-respected dignitaries from across Nigeria, including members of the political class, clergy, judiciary, and academia, gathered to pay their final respects to the distinguished statesman. The service commenced at about 11 a.m. with a processional hymn, Bible readings, and other hymns of comfort. The sermon was delivered by the Right Reverend Emmanuel Adeoye Adekola on the topic, Death is Certain.
Today we appreciate his love. He was a man who has seen it all. But in it all, he was constant. Nígbà tó tẹ gómìnà, when the military came, they didn't find any fault in him. Wọn ò rí bó jíwó, wọn ò rí bó jíwèé. He was consistent. He was thorough. He maintained everything. As a minister, there was no time that either EFCC or ICPC started running after him. Those who ran after him, they were people that were the wicked ones, but they didn't get him. God preserved his life. Chief Corridors Olatuni will give you Yahweh. We can't see you again. And you can't see us again here on this house. You will only see us when we get to the Lord and seated with Christ, the Lord and God that we serve.
The recessional hymn brought the church service to a close, followed by a brief graveside service held about 500 meters from the main church building. The burial ceremony was graced by numerous dignitaries, including former President of the Nigerian Senate, Dr. Bukola Saraki, Senator Yola Omishore, His Excellency, the Governor of Kwara State, Alhaji Abdurrahman Abdurazak, the Deputy Governor, Mr. Kayode Alabi, Senator Gbenga Daniel, and many others. After the interment, guests were entertained at the magnificent country home of the late political mogul, Chief Cornelius Olatunji Adebayo. The venue was beautifully decorated with all the glamour and elegance befitting the occasion. On the bandstand was the chief commander himself, Ebenezer Obe Fabiyi, whose timeless melodies filled the air and kept the atmosphere lively and nostalgic. In attendance were first-class traditional rulers, including His Royal Majesty Oba Elegushi, the Olofa of Ofa, and the Olukbo of Ajasheikbo, among many others. It was indeed dance, dance, and dance, a joyful celebration of a life well spent, filled with memories, music, and gratitude for the impactful legacy of Chief Cornelius Olatunji Adebayo. Biscon TV and the Biscon Show, the new wave of digital influence. From your screen to your world, Biscon TV and the Biscon Show are taking over the digital space like never before. On Instagram, we've smashed past 2 million views with over 25,000 loyal followers and a massive 20,000% surge in reach, connecting vibrant audiences from Lagos to London, Abuja to Atlanta. On Facebook, we've soared to over 5 million views and 100,000 plus followers, uniting a powerful community that celebrates culture, lifestyle, and premium storytelling. And on TikTok, the energy is electric. More than 6 million views and 30,000 followers, engaging daily with our dynamic, captivating, and diverse content that speaks to every generation. But that's not all. Our audience is not just large, it's elite. From corporate leaders to top executives, public figures, and high net worth individuals, our platforms attract the class, the taste, and the influence that matter most. When the high and mighty watch, they watch the Biscon Show. Beyond our screens, Biscon TV delivers world-class event coverage from high-profile weddings and corporate galas to cultural festivals and state functions. With crisp visuals, compelling storytelling, and unmatched professionalism, we bring every moment to life with class and distinction. Across YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and beyond, Biscon TV and the Biscon Show are not just growing, we're evolving, inspiring, and setting new standards in premium entertainment. So, don't just watch the wave, ride it. Advertise your brand, showcase your products, and book us for your world-class event coverage. Let our platforms put your story before the right eyes, the movers, the shakers, the elite. Biscon TV and the Biscon Show, where class meets culture and your brand takes the spotlight. Connect, advertise, partner, and grow with us. Dr. Christopher Kolade, a giant among us who left a legacy that demands reflection and emulation. Dr. Christopher Kolade was more than just a distinguished diplomat, broadcaster, business leader, and educator. He was an embodiment of what leadership with integrity looks like in a country of constant temptation to cut corners. Born in 1932 in Erioke, Osun State, of missionary parentage, he learned early that character and service matter. His academic formation at Government College Ibadan and Furabe College in Sierra Leone prepared him not only for professional success, but for a life of ethical stature. From his early days as education officer, through his time as Director General of the Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation, Chief Executive and Chairman of Cadbury Nigeria, to his service as High Commissioner to the United Kingdom, Dr. Kolade demonstrated that leadership is claimed by action more than title. He never surrendered his values for power. His work in corporate governance, human resource management, leadership training, and ethics, both in academia and practice, reinforced his reputation, not just as an elder statesman, but as an example for generations. The award of Mr. Integrity was not an empty honor. It was earned in daily choices, refusing to compromise, speaking truth to power, and putting national interests above personal gain. He made clear his discomfort with the political class he saw as self-serving. He reminded us that true service of the people requires sacrifice, humility, and the courage to walk away when the cost on one's ethos becomes too high. What we lose with his departure is an unwavering moral anchor in a time when ethics is often the first sacrifice. But his death also challenges us to honor him by holding leaders accountable, retaining men and women who speak up, and supporting institutions that embed ethics into their core, not just as an afterthought. As Nigerians look back on the life of Dr. Kolade, let us not merely tribute his past, let us introspect. Are we ready to be guided by the principles he lived by? Are we ready to insist on leaders who value character as much as competence? Will we stop celebrating success merely for its shiny surface and begin valuing the path by which it was achieved? Dr. Christopher Kolade leaves a legacy not only of what one can achieve, but of how one should achieve it. Let that be the true measure of his life and the standard for our future. On Sunday, September 12, 2025, the elegant halls of the Marriott Hotel, Ikeja, Lagos, radiated with warmth and excitement as the Committee of Friends of CP Lateef Adio Ahmed, PhD, gathered to celebrate his well-deserved elevation to the distinguished rank of Commissioner of Police. It was an evening of honor, class, and camaraderie, hosted by the esteemed Otumayegun of Ota, oil and gas magnate, and Honorable General Secretary of Nigeria's foremost social club, the Island Club, Are Dele Bankole. The event was organized to celebrate not just a promotion, but a remarkable journey of service and dedication. CP Lateef Adio Ahmed, PhD, is a seasoned and highly respected officer of the Nigeria Police Force, whose career has been marked by integrity, discipline, and exceptional professionalism. Over the years, he served in several strategic roles, including personal assistant to a former Inspector General of Police, operations coordinator for the African Union Transition Mission in Somalia, and zonal head of operations with the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, where he made significant contributions in the fight against cybercrime. His exemplary service earned him appointment as Principal Staff Officer to the current Inspector General of Police, Kayode Adeolu Egbetokun, in March 2025, and his recent elevation to Commissioner of Police is a fitting recognition of his commitment and excellence in policing. It was indeed a roll call of distinguished personalities and dignitaries from across the country who came to honor the celebrant. CP Latif Adio Ahmed was accompanied by his beautiful wife, Alhaja Khadijat Ahmed Esquire, and other family members. The gathering also had in attendance the Deputy Governor of Ogun State, Engineer Noimot Salako Yedele, alongside her husband, Alhaji Bodeo Yedele, Distinguished Senator Akin-Odunsi, the Ogun State Commissioner of Police, CP Olanrewaju Ogunlowo, PhD, and revered royal fathers, including His Royal Highness Oba Professor Adeyemi Abdulkabir Obalanlege, the Olota of Ota, His Royal Majesty Oba Abdulaziz O Akinde FCA, the Olojaekun of Igbesaland, and Oba Barrister Lukman Agumbiade, the Alagbara of Agbara Kingdom. Also in attendance were distinguished members of the Olota in Council, colleagues, professional associates, and close friends of the honoree. The evening commenced with opening prayers and anthems, setting a tone of reverence and unity. In her warm welcome address, the Deputy Governor of Ogun State, Engineer Noimot Salako Yedele, described the celebrant as an illustrious son of Ota and Ogun State, who has brought honor to the land through hard work, discipline, and uncommon resilience.
We are celebrating someone who is very dear to us, someone who we have all known at different times. The Sheikh was talking about when they were running around in Ota as young boys. People have known him as colleagues, people have known him as in-laws, and of course, just friends to some people. He has reached a very enviable position in his professional journey. For him, this is a landmark achievement, but it is also a landmark achievement for us in Ota. And this is how we should all network. I see it every day. The Ijebus, their network, I don't think is matched in this country. The Egbas have a serious network. Let us all network. Let us help ourselves. Otherwise, we will face an existential threat. I know this is a day for celebration, but this is my pulpit, and every time I get this opportunity, I like to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it, and hopefully we will get to the promised land. Congratulations, CP Ahmed. Congratulations, Hadija. Congratulations to the Ahmed family, and congratulations to all of us. I wish us all a pleasant afternoon. Thank you very much.
Royal blessings soon followed as the Olota of Ota, His Royal Highness Oba Professor Adeyemi Obalanlege, extolled the virtues of the celebrant, describing him as a man of honor, generosity, and service to humanity.
Kitigbe o ẹ̀yin ará mi, inú mi dùn láti wà níbí lénìí. Pàápàá tó bá ní èèyàn jẹ́ ọmọlúwàbí. Kì í ṣe pé torí pé wà níbí o, mi ò tí rí irú èèyàn bí CP Latif Ahmed. Lágbára Ọlọ́run, òkè ló máa lọ o. Ó ṣe bẹ̀rẹ̀ ni. Lágbára Ọlọ́run torí in fact nígbà tó di Commissioner of Police, àwọn ọ̀rẹ́ mi, àwọn tí mo ti mọ̀ tó ń pè mí, tó ní wọ́n ní ọmọ Ọ̀tà ní Latif, pé inú àwọn dùn ó, pé wọ́n wá bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ń ròyìn ẹ̀ bó ṣe jẹ́ èèyàn tó dáa. Ṣé mọ̀? Mi ò, in fact Ọlọ́run tó kọ́ ẹ mọ̀ ṣe, á dúró tiẹ̀, kò ní dójú tiẹ̀. Gbogbo bí tó bá dé, wà máa rí aláàánú. Nítorí for me, aláàánú mi ni o. Aláàánú mi ni CP Latif Ahmed. So àwọn alálẹ̀ ìlú Ọ̀tà, wọ́n á dúró tiẹ̀ o.
In a symbolic gesture of recognition, the monarch conferred upon him the traditional title of Giwa of Ota Woriland, a moment that drew applause and admiration from the delighted audience. Distinguished Senator Akin Odunsi took the stage next, delivering a heartfelt goodwill message that celebrated the growing number of illustrious sons and daughters of Ota, making waves nationally and internationally.
On behalf of the Amodu Giwa family, I want to thank the Committee of Friends for putting this program together. Like Her Excellency said earlier on, Kabiyesi is witnessing a lot of firsts during his reign as Yolota, and he is going to reign for a long time so that we can see more firsts in Ota. We've now had the first deputy governor coming from Ota. We now had the first commissioner of police coming from Ota. In another week or two, I'm sure there will be another first or something to be announced, inshallah. I want Lateef to also begin the process of ensuring that we have more of our Awori sons and daughters in the Nigerian police. Because when he bows out, I would want him to bow out with more CPs coming from Awori land. May it be easy for you. Amen. Once again, I want to thank you on behalf of the Amodu Giwa Odunsi family for finding the time to come to this evening's event. God bless you all. Thank you.
Other esteemed guests, including His Royal Majesty Oba Barrister Lukman Agumbiade, as well as close friends such as Mr. Rotimi Balogun, Mr. Biodun Adeniro, Mr. Omowura Olatunji, and Honorable Shegun Ojulowo, who performed an Ewi poem in honor of the celebrant, also shared touching tributes. Professional colleagues of the honoree, including Comptroller Kolade Kayode, CP Lanre Ogunlowo, PhD, and DCP Waheed Olayinka Ajegbe, expressed admiration for his leadership style and his contributions to the Nigerian police force and society at large.
Ahmed is somebody that one cannot do without. Yes, we can't do without him. While in the service, even since we met and since we've been coming together, he can't see you and turn his face on you. He's somebody that people always need to be with him always. I'm not saying this because I'm seeing him. That is how he is to almost everybody. He's a joyful fellow. Ahmed, I pray for you that you will land well. That height, you will reach there. You will not stop here. And the good thing you have been doing will always follow you. Congratulations, my brother.
And we've had people talk about Lateef. That's Awori connection. I'm from Lateef's second family, the police. And Kabiyesi, I won't say much other than that you will still have reason in a short while to celebrate him for another first, I'm certain. Because I can do projection in our career, and I know all we need to just ask is for God to give him good health. That many people have good things to talk about Lateef, and for us in the police, Lateef is a very good fellow. I won't take our time. I just wish him well in this life. He has done too much. He cannot. God is merciful, but how many of his kindness can he get back in a lifetime? It's too many.
CP Lateef Adio Ahmed, PhD, expressed heartfelt gratitude to everyone in attendance, sharing personal reflections on his journey, his faith in God, and his unwavering commitment to service.
So I wish to thank each and every one of you that you are here today. KBAC, I'm sorry, my people of the Gravity Foundation, please stand up for recognition. You know, we started this thing as a very small thing. Thank you very much. God bless you, the president and everybody. They did wonderfully well, and at any point in time, they are always giving their support. Thank you very much. I appreciate you all. I wish you all a very good evening. Thank you very much for being here. For my friends, Titrona, and everybody in here, I can see all faces here. Thank you very much. My suspect, yes, my number one suspect when I came, Honorable Wale Oluwo, I used to call him my suspect so he would not run away from me. So thank you very much. I appreciate everybody. I wish you all the best, and I pray that more of this will happen in each and every one of us houses, and we'll also have cause to glorify God. Osiare Kafata, thank you very much, sir. God bless you. Thank you very much, ma'am.
The celebration drew to a graceful close with a vote of thanks delivered by Mr. Kunle Shomori, followed by a closing prayer led by Mr. Biodun Obeniran. Guests departed in high spirits, exchanging warm pleasantries and taking memorable photographs. A fitting end to a night that beautifully combined honor, friendship, and celebration of excellence. Professor Joash Ojoa-Mukpiton, SAN, has been appointed as the new chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission. A distinguished law professor and experienced administrator, he is renowned for his discipline, scholarship, and professionalism. His strong background in corporate law and governance prepares him to handle the complex responsibilities that come with overseeing Nigeria's electoral process. As he assumes office, expectations are high that he will reform INEC's operations by strengthening transparency and efficiency. He is expected to improve the electoral system through reliable technological solutions that reduce manipulation and human error, while ensuring accountability and public trust. There is also anticipation that he will foster stronger collaboration with political parties, civil society, and security agencies to promote fairness and credible elections. The real test of his leadership will be his ability to deliver elections that are free, fair, and accepted by all stakeholders. If he can uphold integrity, build public confidence, and strengthen INEC's institutional independence, his tenure will mark a new era of electoral credibility in Nigeria. The 10th anniversary remembrance of the passage of Chief Solomon Dipriye Alamisia was celebrated on the 10th of October 2025. Chief Solomon Dipriye Alamisia was born on November 16, 1952, and died on 10th October 2015 at the age of 62. Chief Solomon Dipriye Alamisia was the first civilian governor of Bayelsa State from May 29, 1999 to 2005. He was a native of Anasoma in Bayelsa State, who attended Bishop Demiari Grammar School, Yenogwa, Bayelsa State. Chief Solomon Dipriye Alamisia joined the Nigerian Defense Academy, Kaduna, as a cadet officer in 1974 and retired in 1992. Chief Solomon Dipriye Alamisia, who retired from the Nigerian Air Force as a squadron leader, joined the PDP when his political career began. His political career began as the first civilian governor of Bayelsa State from 1999, and he was re-elected for a second term in 2003. The 10th anniversary of his passage was attended by leaders of thought, especially from the Niger Delta region of Nigeria. The governor of Bayelsa, Doyediri, led the powerful leaders from Bayelsa State. Others were Bayelsa State Deputy Governor, Senator Lawrence Erojakpo, former Deputy Governor, Rear Admiral John Jonah Boribioga, the former First Lady of Bayelsa State, Mrs. Margaret Alamisia, Chief James Ibori, former Governor of Delta State, the National Chairman of the Pan-Niger Delta Forum, Ambassador Boladi Igali, President of the Ijaw National Congress, Professor Benjamin Okaba, and top functionaries of government, Chief Ebetimi Amagbare, Managing Director, Niger Delta Development Authority. All those who spoke remembered Chief Solomon Dipriye Alamisia, known as the Governor General of the Niger Delta region, as the voice of the Niger Delta people. They say that his legacies will continually inspire generations in the quest for justice and fairness in the development of the Niger Delta region. The keynote speaker, Professor Samuel Ibaba, a renowned professor of political science from Niger Delta University, Bayelsa State, said emergence of Alamisia marked a defining moment in the Ijaw and Niger Delta struggle for equity and justice.
The Alamisia legacies in contemporary Nigeria. And as I began to reflect on it, then I remembered the voices from the Niger Delta. The voices of injustice, the voices of deprivation, the voices of marginalization, the agitations, the demands of resource control. Those voices that pierced through the soul of Nigeria. Those voices that did not only call for developing Nigeria firmly as a country based on justice and equality. And as I thought of those voices, the voice of DSP Alamisia sounded very loud. And at that point chose to speak on in the Niger Delta's voice, true Nigeria's soul, federalism, resource control, and the contemporary Nigeria state in the DSP Alamisia's legacies.
The erudite, internationally respected political scholar said the late hero in his speeches and actions took the Niger Delta agitation into the heart of national discussion, placing Bayelsa State and the region firmly on Nigeria's national map of political reckoning.
He stood where power and passion blend, a son, a leader, a friend of the people. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, we gather today not merely to remember a man, but to revisit a moment in Nigeria's journey. A moment when federalism was contested, when resource control became more than policy. It became the cry of a people, the heartbeat of the Niger Delta. Through Nigeria's soul, the echoes flows. A nation's wound, a truth it knows, how wealth can bloom while children weep.
Ibori, popularly known as the Odidigbogbo of Africa, appreciated Diri for strengthening Alamisia's legacies and the Ijaw struggle through the annual memorial anniversary by the state government.
And I'm glad we are here today just to say that even though he's gone, that which he stood for and stood by and advocated can never die. That's his legacy. It will never die. I will take a few moments to comment disjointedly on some of the issues that you have raised, without raising any controversy. As I said in the beginning, I was there. DSP displays courage at every point, any time. The only painful thing, and it still pains me till today, is that they never left him to finish the job, because he would have finished the job. All the speakers have said the job is unfinished, and that is my conclusion. In what I wrote today, that's how I concluded it. Just as you all have agreed that this job is not done. But how do we finish the job?
Governor Doye Diri of Bayelsa State, who made a renewed call for fair resource sharing, said for Nigeria to make progress, it should practice federal system of government.
You try to bring back my memories about federalism, and that's what political scientists are. Congratulations. My conclusion today is that all Alamisia stood for was not just about the job people. Yes, he used that as a front, but it was truly about the story of Nigeria. If we like, we can bring a Jesus Christ to be the president of Nigeria. If we like, we can bring a Mohammed to be the president of Nigeria. We will go around the same circle. The same complaints of the president is this, the president is that, until we do the needful by allowing this country to practice federalism the way it is defined. We must be united as Niger Delta people, in whose land these resources are, that we have been robbed by the Land Use Acts, that the surface rights belong to us, but the rights inside of our land belongs to the federal government. It's a taboo, and we will stand against it anywhere, anytime. We speak against it anywhere, anytime. As governor, as an ordinary citizen.
On behalf of Prince Biscon Tv, the chairman and CEO of Biscon Communications, his wife, Princess Folashade Olatilo, and the entire Biscon Communication family, we pray that God grant the soul of Chief Solomon Dipriye Alamisia continued rest. Amen. He was very close to the Biscon family.
Hello again, I greet you. Welcome one and all to another program in the series, Citizen Jones Today. What we do is simple: interrogate issues that get thrown up by my country, your country. Just so you know, that's how we roll. And today we look back on the life and times of Dr. Christopher Kolade. We can make our lives sublime and on departing leave footprints on the sands of time. Now, this is a quote from the poem A Psalm of Life, written by American poet and educator Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Essentially, Longfellow was speaking about living in the present, being proactive, and striving to make one's life sublime, that is, noble and beautiful. The author was writing about the Nigerian diplomat, academic, and broadcaster par excellence, Dr. Christopher Kolade, the proud son of Irioke in today's Osun State. Well, he had one ambition: to become an education officer at a time when the teacher was a respected member of society. Not only did our man achieve that which he had dreamt before life called him into other arenas. My interaction with him came in 1974 when I joined the old NBC, Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation, as a junior presentation assistant. Before then, though, specifically during the Civil War years, Dr. Kolade's penchant for responsibility came to the fore when a program, actually a radio drama titled Trees Grow in the Desert, written by the late Rashid Badamosi, was broadcast. The program was not agreeable with the Gowon government at the time, and so many of the actors and actresses, including the late John Chukwu, Isaac Ijoma, and co., were arrested and detained. Dr. Kolade accepted responsibility. But he left broadcasting in 1977, and later on, we can recall that he was appointed Nigeria's ambassador to the United Kingdom, and so on. He left broadcasting in 1977, as I just said. He never looked back. He indeed left footprints on the sands of time, and these footprints are never made sitting down. Let's provoke a conversation here, please. My conversationalist this morning, or today I should say, beg your pardon, is a man who has interacted with Dr. Kolade away from broadcasting. Let's meet and greet Mr. Akin Fatuke. I greet you.
Thank you very much, Citizen Jones.
Yeah.
Like Longfellow, we are going to try and make ours short. I'm going to be quips on interaction with this exceptional, and that's the way he will pronounce it, exceptional Nigerian who has since transited, fully assured, like they say in some beliefs, that is listening in to some of the things we are going to say this morning, this day. Thank you very much, St. Jones, for having me. I would say my first interaction was at the Lagos Business School.
Okay.
As at that time, I was an executive in ExxonMobil downstream, and I had gone for a week, 2 weeks, sandwich lecture.
Okay. A refresher kind of thing.
In Lagos Business School.
Okay.
I remember a couple of words in class. I still think I remember that Frankenbach, the police, the AIG now, was much younger officer, was in that class. And that class was full because we had been told Dr. Christopher Kolade was going to come.
Okay.
And for those of us, unlike you,
and rub minds with
who had stints in broadcasting, he came in gingerly that day in his suit, and somebody whispered to me, this man, at the age of close to 86, 87 at that time, are we all going to sit down and watch him give a lecture? But somehow, are you sure he'll be able to go for the whole hog of about 1 hour plus? So when he entered, we all stood up and said, sit, you know the way he does. And somebody betrayed and said, sir, respectfully, we've come to drink from your wealth of experience and knowledge. We will prefer that we provide you a seat on the stage, and then you make your presentation. And
you would have said presentation.
Presentation. And make your presentation.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Dr. Kolade looked to his right, looked to the back of the class, and said, hey, let me ask a question. Whose idea amongst you is this? I would say collectively we agreed that should happen. Then he made a statement. You may be surprised that I'm even stronger than you. Come on, let's go. And then he went on. The second within that lecture was an experience that he shared with us. Then NBC, like you mentioned, I think Agui Rusi was the
head of state.
Head of state.
Yeah.
And something happened, and Agui Rusi was to come on, maybe at the State House, or whatever it is, and it was the responsibility of NBC to make sure all their good.
Yeah.
So while they were there, a broadcaster or announcer had come in front of the microphone.
Okay.
And you know the normal function. You start by maybe involuntarily you click just to make sure
the mic was live,
and all arrangements had been done to make sure things were right. But you know, involuntarily he just clicked. As he clicked once, got a shock. And after his announcement, of course, will not be the DG to come. Kolade to come on. Quickly, excuse me, sir. The microphone is shocking. It's shocking. And Kolade was to now then say, please permit me to invite. So he got in there. Dr. Kolade now then decided, look, what this guy said, will anything have gone wrong? There was no time to. He now told him, I saw the thing was shocking. I said, Mr. Head of State, as I was about to call you, I discovered something must have gone wrong in this, and we will not be able to use this microphone. And Urosi just jumped up and said, no, I will use it. Mr. Head of State, you will not use this microphone, because right there and then, raised his hand and said, you must be just not say anything and then end up
will be cowed.
End up,
That's another
embarrassing.
That's another question of taking
responsibility and leadership and accountability that he has always preached. So on that particular day, he went on. I remember, apart from Christopher Kolade, the late Stanley Makebo, also came. He's been a writer for Obasanjo and all that. And remember when Stanley came in and said, I just saw Dr. Christopher Kolade leave your class now. You guys are so lucky and all that. I said, we are blessed. That is the servant leader that Dr. Christopher Kolade has been. I'm just giving you two. Maybe in the course of our discussions, I'll give you some additional ones in respect to the kind of interaction we had both at the Society of Corporate Governance, Lagos Business School, Tom Associates as a lecturer. He gave the impression that lecture is one of the things he does so well. And when it comes to writing, we talk about his Cadbury days, and I will share one or two. Thank you.
Yeah, let me touch on a ritual, which we enjoyed working under him for many moons in Radio Nigeria of yore. Every Thursday was the presentation meeting, and at the presentation meeting, you look back on the outgone week, project into the coming week. Any mistake or mistakes you made,
correct?
Yeah, they were corrected then. And as rookie broadcasters, it was the norm to have Kolade meet and greet us, and it was going round. I remember there was a name like Monday Idiom from my then Southeastern state, today's Akwa Ibom. Kolade asked, "Did you say Monday idiot?" I said, the man said, "No, idiom," and said idiom is the name of a deity in my place. He said, "Okay." Another fellow came and said, I was Jide Adekusiba. Kolade wondered if the man Adekusiba knew he was a DG, and he asked Adekusibo, and so on. And then there was this interesting one about Patrick OK. Patrick had said, "I'm Patrick OK," and he asked him, "Where are you from?" "From Warri." And Kolade said, "You must start getting worried because I'm already worried about where you are from." And Patrick corrected himself. "Warisa." Said, "Okay, call the name correctly. That's the name of your place." That was Kolade for you. That was Kolade for you.
I will share this.
Yeah.
I just told you of the lecture he came and he was there. It was supposed to be a 1 hour lecture. He finished about 45 minutes. We started asking questions and we delayed Stanley massacre. And everybody wanted to ask questions. Say, "Look, sorry." And the facilitators of the program said, "Okay, look, that is you paid for this program anyway." And so he was on his feet for most of the time. Somebody in what you call hunger and anger today, against the establishment, now raised and said, "Dr. Kolade, during your time things were good. Things have gone so bad now." And I reeled out back then. I wonder what that person would now be saying with the economic condition and social welfare condition that Nigeria had now been repaired by the present government. And said, "Look, as far as I'm concerned, I came for this program all the way from," I think he mentioned I hope I'm correct.
Mm.
Adamawa or something like that.
Okay.
I came because we knew we were going to meet somebody like you. Shoyinka had said earlier that wasted generation and all that.
Mm.
And Dr. Christopher Kolade listened attentively to the gentleman who went on and raved and raved and raved. And in response, Dr. Christopher Kolade said, while I agree that ours, including yours perhaps, is a wasted generation, what will you say about our great grandfathers? Are you aware there was a time in this same country that you are pillaring and that if you are on your way to the market, all you need to do, like I think they do in some areas, you know how much that is going to cost. You put that money there, you take the correct change. You go on, and can I ask you, gentlemen, are you in a position to be able to do that, whether you are the trader or not? And the guy, surprisingly, I mean, this story I'm telling, maybe a number of much more elderly people will relate with it. Virtually at that time, a baby bloomer and Gen Z, you call them now, said it is not possible. Say, my friend, it is possible. So if you say ours is that bad, do you know at one point in time, integrity, one of the things that he preaches off his fingers, doing things the right way when nobody is looking, was watching you, and all that. On some other occasion, Dr. Christopher Kolade told us that while he was in Cadbury as the chairman, part of the things under him was the communications team and all that, and that he has been able to grow people, able to write what we describe as the chairman's speech. The chairman's speech is a speech that looks at the finance, the environment, the marketing, the purchasing, and you are supposed to capture everything in one
the outlook of the company.
And then, of course, the future outlook. So I raised up my hand and I said, that is one area that I think Mobile, which I was working with, he said, really? Very good. Who is your CEO? And then all this, if I had known, I said, oh, my CEO then was the first chairman and managing director of Mobile in over 100 years. So what would that be? I said, okay, his name is Ulu Onokoya. This evening when you get back to the office, or you give him a call and tell him you spoke to Dr. Kolade, and that Olu, like he called him, will give you a snippet of here and there. So he went on talking, and I thought I was excited. And Oga, I met Dr. Kolade. There was a shake in her. He said, that is the Lord and Master. That is the man that will change not just your tenses, he will change the way you pronounce words, he will change the whole thing.
Not necessarily change, correct.
He will correct. Well, he will correct to what
if you
will ask you, what exactly are you trying to put across here? So all I was just trying to say is that I was sitting next to Citizen Jones and we are doing broadcasting and all that. But is that what you have written? Victor Oladokun in his tributes lately also made allusion to that.
I read it here.
He was intense. He was intentional. He was a talent developer. To the extent that on a particular occasion, I met him at Society for Corporate Governance, and there were the big guns that you can talk about, put in and out. And I thought to myself, I didn't know why I got that inspiration from. I just thought to myself, I am Yoruba. Dr. Christopher Kolade is Yoruba. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go out there and prostrate. And there and then, I prostrated, and everybody was wondering. Then they tapped me at the back, you know, as a young man. I can understand the culture. You know, in Japan, the geisha thing and all that. Why did you decide that this is what you are going to say? Because we are not just in Nigeria. I have utmost respect for who you are, and to try and tell people who are not necessarily Nigerians, because a number of Nigerians were there, that this is how we do it in here. So it turned to some of the guys, some from the US, some from Singapore, some from elsewhere. You know, they all gave me a handshake and said, look, we've taken something that you are able to show this kind of respect in a way, a manner, and Dr. Kolade has acknowledged this. I said, no, don't do that again. I said, no, you insisted that you are going to go ahead and do that. That is some of my personal interactions. Thereafter, each time I saw him, and I was not going to go down and say, Akin, you want to? No, don't do that again. But always late. I make sure I do what I need to do. I know the Ekiti governor does that, you know. BAO, Oyebanji, also does that. Some people criticize, some people don't criticize, but I think he was a cultural ambassador. And when he was the High Commissioner in UK, one of the best moments, one of the best appointments, I believe, that then Obasanjo, he was during his first coming, I believe. Gave, and it was a bravo.
All right.
It was a bravo.
Mr. Fatunka, we must apply the brakes here. Just to let the viewer know, in looking back on the life and times of Dr. Christopher Kolade, the idea was not to raise passion or emotion, but to share the truth in that line of the poem I lifted. We can make our lives sublime and on departing leave footprints on the sands of time. I think Dr. Christopher Kolade did that for me personally, and from the accounts you have given.
Yes, he not only did that, in one of the lectures we also had, he made a statement, said, how would you like to be remembered? Had some of us. And then, of course, you know, we all glew at that, sir, in what ways do you think we remember you, you know, man of integrity, man of passion, man of, you know, uncommon character and stuff like that. You know,
otherwise, he made me and I, they say you, know that it can be done. We can live, we can make our lives sublime.
What I'd like you to remember me about was telling the class is how I've been able to impart you. That you have now held the torch. Hold that torch and make sure don't
drop it.
And you, Dr. Christopher Kolade, at 92, you have come, you have seen, and you have conquered.
Okay.
God bless you. God bless your path. And we are not going to let down your legacy and the things that you always wanted for Nigeria to be. Nigeria shall be great again.
Thank you. We'll leave it there. But thank you, Akin Fatunka, for coming.
Always a pleasure.
And that's it, folks. On behalf of the Backroom Boys here, I'd say thank you all for watching. Bye-bye now.
ably represented by Governor Dr. Kadiri Obafemi Hamzat. I think Mr. Governor deserves a better round of applause, please. Thank you for coming, Mr. Governor. Thank you very much. I need to bring in Mr. Governor. So do allow me to do this in my own way and say that he is the Jagumolu of Owu Kingdom. Martins, KCOP, Chairman Island Club. I think the chairman deserves a round of applause commensurate with his size, please.
Our own dear native land, though tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand. Nigerians old and proud to serve our sovereign motherland. Our flag shall be a symbol that protects us its reign. In peace or battle, honor and victory comes us gain. To hand unto our children a banner without stain. O God of all creation, grant this our one request. Help us to build our nation where no man is oppressed. And so with peace and plenty, Nigeria may be blessed.
I want us to take the Island Club anthem.
These are love for you and me. Island Club, we take them all the people. It's for truth and dignity. Island Club is for fellowship. It's interracial, it's for comradeship. Hey, Island Club, hey, Nigeria's premier club. When alive, if we will carry over true and decent life. Men of friendship, we will ring and love. In the Island Club for life. Island Club is for fellowship. It's interracial, it's for comradeship. Hey, Island Club, in Nigeria's premier club.
Chief Wole Olanipekun, CFR, SAN. Professor Patrick Luck Otieno Lumumba, you are welcome to Nigeria. Our eminent rapporteur, Professor Ehosa Osage, DG of Nigerian Institute of International Affairs. Captains of industries, trustees and past chairmen of our great club, the Island Club, my colleagues in the management committee, our distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me profound pleasure and indeed a deep sense of national duty to welcome you to Island Club, the home of legacy, hospitality, and national reflection. As we gather to commemorate Nigeria's 65th independence with this lecture and award night, tonight is not a mere ceremony. It's a convergence of history, responsibility, and awakening. When the Island Club of Nigeria was founded in 1943, colonial exclusion and racial segregation sought to diminish the Nigerian spirit. Our founding fathers, courageous visionaries, built this club as a sanctuary of resistance, a citadel of dialogue, and an incubator of leadership. Here, ideas were sharpened, alliance forged, courage nurtured. From these very halls, whisper became movements. Movements became independence. 65 years after that dream was realized, we gather not only to celebrate but to reflect. The theme before us, Nigeria and the African reawakening, the giant that must not sleep, is neither slogan nor ornament. It's a warning, a reminder, a call to conscience. This distinguished assemblage of brilliant African minds underscore the gravity of our discourse. Their insight will stir reflection and inspire a renewed resolve for a new Nigeria and reawaken Africa. Propelled by courage, vision, and shared responsibility. Tonight must not end with speeches and photographs. It must end with resolve. Our eminent speakers and panelists embody intellect, governance, diplomacy, law, and Pan-African courage. In their voices lies clarity. In their stories, lessons. In their conviction, the reawakening we seek. As we mark 65 years of nationhood, may this evening ignite with us patriotism without pretense, courage without excuses, and a collective commitment to build a Nigeria worthy of the sacrifice of our past and the dream of our children. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I thank you most sincerely for honoring our invitation. It is my privilege as chairman of Island Club and your humble host to welcome you to our evening of history, intellect, and inspiration. Welcome to Island Club since 1943, the home of legacy, hospitality, and hope. May God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Invite the internationally celebrated Pan-Africanist and thought leader. When I was told that he will be giving the lecture today, I said to myself, we had all better be prepared, because he always spits fire. And today we are about to experience him. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, with a resounding round of applause, please welcome to the stage Professor Patrick Lumumba. Otieno Lumumba. Professor Lumumba is a professor of public law, a holder of an LLD, Doctor of Laws, on the law of the sea from the University of Ghent, Belgium, Master of Laws degree and Bachelor of Laws degree
from the University of Nairobi. He holds an honorary degree of Doctor of Letters, D.Lit, honoris causa, from the University of Cape Coast in Ghana. He's also a holder of the degree of Doctor of Science, DSc, honoris causa, from Bells University of Technology in Nigeria. He has been trained on human rights at the Institute of Advanced Legal Studies, University of London in England, humanitarian law at the Raoul Wallenberg Institute of the University of Lund in Sweden, and on international humanitarian law in Geneva, Switzerland. He's an advocate of the High Courts of Kenya and Tanganyika and a certified mediator. He's a fellow of the Institute of Certified Public Secretaries of Kenya, FCPSK, a fellow of the Kenya Institute of Management, FKIM, and honorary fellow of the African Academy of Sciences, FAAS. He's a chairman of Farafina Investment Group in Monrovia, Liberia, an economic strategic growth and development initiative for Africa based in Nigeria. He is the immediate former director and chief executive officer of the Kenya School of Law, a former secretary of the Constitution of Kenya Review Commission, and a former director of the Kenya Anti-Corruption Commission, KACC. He is the founding trustee of the African Institute of Leaders and Leadership, AILL, and founding chairman of the Association of the Citizens Against Corruption, ACAC. He was the founding dean, Kabarak University School of Law, a former lecturer at the University of Nairobi, UON, the United States International University, USIU Africa, Widener University, USA, Nairobi Summer School, and Chancellor of the Unity University in Hargeisa. He is widely published and currently consults with Lumumba and Lumumba Associates, a member of the Africa Justice Group, and runs the PLO Lumumba Foundation with presence in 46 African countries. From Nigeria to Kenya, please recognize in our midst Professor Patrick Locke Otieno Lumumba. I did warn you that Professor Lumumba, obviously, he spits fire, and we are going to be experiencing him very soon, giving the Independence Lecture. Distinguished guests, as he approaches the lectern, I would request that you give him another resounding round of applause.
I swear, but it would be remiss on me if I did not recognize the chairman of Island Club who invited me to this occasion. Honorable Chairman, accept my gratitude. It is also proper and fitting that I recognize your dear wife, and equally proper and fitting that I recognize our chief host, who is the governor of the state of Lagos, and to recognize the former chairpersons, the trustees, and the distinguished members who are here present, as well as the distinguished discussants. Permit me to congratulate the Federal Republic of Nigeria on the occasion of her 65th birthday since she regained her independence from the British colonizers. It is a day that is worthy of reflection. And it is not lost on me that I've been asked to talk about Africa and Nigeria in that context. I speak at a time by the dissatisfaction of young Africans who believe that the promises that were made by the founding fathers and founding mothers have not been fulfilled. It is a demonstration of the fact that there is a lot of work to be done. But it is on an occasion such as this that is also incumbent upon us to remember by dint of history that the post-colonial African state, as we know them today, were designed to fail. In fact, it is true that the erstwhile colonizers, whether they are sitting in London, England, or in Paris in France, or in Madrid in Spain, or in Lisbon in Portugal, or in Brussels in Belgium, they are waiting for the African countries to collapse that they may write the obituary. The fact that we are here and celebrating 65 years since we regained our independence is a demonstration that we have refused to fulfill the prophecies of the colonizer turned neo-colonizer. But yet, it is also important to ourselves is that the time has come when we can no longer afford the luxury of attributing our failures to colonization. We have had occasion to do many things, and indeed it can be said that we have done many things, but there is a sense in which we continue to punch below our weight. We must also remind ourselves that it is true that we are not the only peoples who are colonized. There are others who are colonized, others who we may describe as our colonial age mates, and for some reason they appear to be doing better than us. So on this occasion we must ask ourselves, what is it that we can do better? And the country that must ask that question more than any other country in the continent of Africa is the Republic of Nigeria. The reason why she must do so is because out of every 5 Africans, 1 is a Nigerian. The reason why she must do so is because over 300 million people live within the territory of Nigeria. And I want to submit to Nigeria that the day you do your census properly, you will discover that you are actually 350 million. I look forward to that day when Nigerians will discover their continent. And let us go down to history. Why are we assembled here? Are we assembled here simply because it is a jamboree at which we pat our backs? Are we assembled here simply to remind ourselves that 82 years ago, the Island Club was established? Are we assembled here merely to remind ourselves that 65 years ago, Nigeria regained our independence? Or we are assembled here to do all those, but also to ask difficult and uncomfortable questions? You know, when we talk about Africa, we must also and always remind ourselves that the Africa we are talking about is an Africa that is divided into 54 artificial nations. Some say 55. Some even say 56. Some even say more. But we must remember that as this club was being established in 1943, and the chairman has already said that it was the ground upon which courage was incubated. I want all of you who are present here to remember what the men and women who are assembled here were thinking about. In those days, when not every Nigerian could be allowed in these places. In those days, when Africans were considered to be children of a lesser God. In those days, when the British were quick to remind us that we were different because we were Hausa, because we were Fulani, because we were Yoruba, because we were Igbo, because we are Kalabari, and they were sowing the seeds of discord, that even when we regained our independence, we would not last for too long. We must ask ourselves what was going on in their minds. And those of you who are students of history will remember in 1945 in Manchester, in the United Kingdom, when Africans in the continent and those in the diaspora met for the first time and were talking about Pan-Africanism, Nigeria was ably represented in that forum by Obafemi Awolowo. And if you remember what he, among others, said during that period, he was reminding us that once we regained our independence in and of itself was not sufficient. Independence was only going to be the beginning. The question is, did we begin well? Are we running well? Is there a promise for all of us? Is there something to celebrate or something to shout home about? These are the questions that must reside in our minds and in our hearts today. Those of you who are assembled here, when I was making my inquiries, I was told that you are some of the shakers and movers of Nigeria. The question that you must ask, what are you shaking and what are you moving? If you are shaking something, is it something that is going to benefit Nigeria? You must remember, is it your own Chinua Achebe who said that the man or woman who shakes the Iroko tree only ends up shaking his buttocks? Is it your buttocks that are shaking or you are shaking Nigeria? These are the uncomfortable questions that you must face. And you know, as we are assembled here, there is a sense in which there is discomfort in the continent of Africa. We are assembled here in Nigeria, but Africa is not at ease. If you thought Africa was at ease, go to the Sahel. The insurgency is there. The young men and women who are dying on a daily basis. Africa is not at ease. Go to Sudan. There is war. Over 3.5 million internally displaced persons. Africa is not at ease. Go to Somalia. She's not at ease. Go to Central African Republic. She's not at ease. Go to the eastern part of the Democratic Republic of Congo. She's not at ease. Go to southern Cameroons in Ambazonia. She's not at ease. And even when there is no real war, no real conflict, as I speak to you now, for 4 days and 4 nights in Morocco, young men are in the streets. As I speak to you now, young men and young women are in the streets of Luanda in Angola. As I speak to you now, young men are uncomfortable. Something is happening. Not only here in Nigeria, there are places in northern Nigeria where there are no-go zones. That is the reality. So we may sit in the comfort of Island Club, but this is just but an island. The reality is that it is an island in a sea of sorrow and desperation. The question is, beyond the lamentations, what can we do? We have lamented for too long. We have agonized for too long. Our young men and women are asking, what will we give them? The average age in this assembly, I suspect, is about 55. Our young men and women are not present in this assembly. They'll only watch on television. Where is the baton that we are going to pass over to them? Where is the united country that we are going to pass over to them? What are we doing in our health sector? As a young person, when we read about Nigeria, I read about the University of Ibadan, the University of Nigeria at Nsukka. People would come from the Arab world to be treated at Ibadan. Today, when a Nigerian with an ability or an African with ability, depending on who colonized you, you run to hospitals in London, New York, or lately Dubai and India. Yet in the intervening period, we have produced doctors in the thousands. Where did we go wrong? Today, as you drive across the continent of Africa, we may talk about the good roads, and I saw some beautiful roads in Akwa Ibom in Uyo. Beautiful. But who constructed them? If it is not Chinese, it is Europeans. In the intervening period, we have produced civil engineers whom, if you do not address as an engineer, he'll have a quarrel with you. What became of us? These are the questions which we must ask. I'm booked in a hotel room here in Lagos. When I look at the free water that is given to me, bottled water, it is Evian, product of Coca-Cola, in Lagos, Nigeria, Africa's greatest country, even water. And it's not only in Nigeria, it is in Nairobi, Kenya, it's in Accra, even water, 65 years after independence. When I ask for coffee, I get coffee Nescafe from little Switzerland. That is the state in which we are. What went wrong? Those who love Africa are asking. These are the uncomfortable questions that we must ask. Because if we don't ask them, we'll not get an answer. So we are here to remind ourselves that there is work to be done. How is it that when I was a high school student, the literature that I read was Wole Soyinka with the road and the interpreters, with Kongi's harvest. It is Flora Nwapa that I read with the Furu. It is Chinua Achebe that I read with Things Fall Apart, No Longer at Ease, Antilles in the Savannah. It is Eleki Amadi that I read with The Concubine. Today, when I travel across Africa and I ask, do you know Chinua Achebe? Do you know Wole Soyinka? No, they don't. What happened to us? When I read history, we were taught about Nnamdi Azikiwe. And we call them even in Nairobi, Kenya, Zik of Africa. We are taught about Sahar Madubel, Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, Obafemi Awolowo. Later we learned about Olusegun Obasanjo. Agui Ronzi, whether you like them or not is a different debate, but we were taught them. Today, you go to the capitals of Africa, you go to Benin, and you ask the Beninois, who is the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 8 out of 10 do not know and perhaps do not. Last week, there was the United Nations General Assembly. Even when the President of the United States of America was insulting everybody, African leaders sat there. But when their fellow African head of state is talking, they are busy doing other things. Who cast us? Who bewitched us? These are the uncomfortable questions that we must ask here. We have been too nice to each other for too long. The net effect is that if you go into any African environment, if you go to any African school and you ask young men and women, do you want to leave Africa? 9 of them want to run away. That is why they are dying in the Mediterranean Sea. That is why they are dying off the coast of Senegal. That is why they are being humiliated at embassies. You go to the embassy of any Western country, in any African country, and you'll see the humiliation. They ask you, even your great-great-grandmother, who died long before you are conceived as an idea. Those are the circumstances in which we find ourselves. On average, many of you who are present here, allow me to be morbid, in the next 40 years, you'll be upstairs. The question is, what are you leaving for your children and children's children? What is it? These are the questions. These are the uncomfortable questions that we must ask. And these questions must be answered by Nigeria primarily. I've said not once, not twice, but times without number, that the day Nigeria wakes up, that is the day Africa wakes up. You know, a friend of mine once told me, if you go anywhere in the world and you do not find a Nigerian, run out of that place. There is nothing there. And those of you who have had occasion to travel, you go to different parts of the world, you look for the best doctors, Nigerian. Look for the best engineers, Nigerians. Look for some of the best lawyers, Nigerians. The Nigerians are everywhere doing great things across the continent of Africa. And whenever Nigeria has decided to provide leadership, Africa has changed. You ask the Liberians with ECOMOG. When Nigeria stood up, that country was stabilized. When there was mischief in Banjul in the Gambia, and Nigeria stood up, that country was stabilized. When Nigeria did not do as well as she should have done in the Sahel, the problem is not stabilized. The question is, why is Nigeria a reluctant leader? Nigeria should be the leader economically. You know, when Nigerians say, and they debate with South Africa, and sometimes with Egypt, which is the biggest of the economies, I laugh. I laugh because the economies that they are talking about using the unreliable GDP, but we must use it, is that Nigeria is 500 billion USD GDP, with a population of over 200 million. Singapore, which is smaller than Lagos, with a population of 6 million, has a GDP of 564 billion. So the debate between Nigeria and Egypt and South Africa is a debate between two dwarfs as to which one is the taller of them. Even if one is taller than the other, they are still dwarfs. The day that I will celebrate Nigeria is the day Nigeria tells me we are 2 trillion economy, and Nigeria can achieve it. And Nigeria must achieve it. What does Nigeria not have? Is the oil that is produced in Nigeria different from the oil that is produced in Saudi Arabia? Is it different than the oil that is produced in Kuwait, that is produced in Bahrain, that is produced in Qatar? Why must Nigeria not be the leader that has pipelines across the continent of Africa? Why can she not do it? She can. But we have allowed ourselves to be paralyzed by analysis and to be paralyzed by lamentation. It is your own kinsman, Chinua Achebe, who said that adversity is a problem of humanity, but we must never allow ourselves to be the victims or the agents of adversity. We must allow ourselves to be the conquerors of adversity, Chinua said. And I remember so very vividly in 1983 when Chinua Achebe wrote the little book, The Trouble with Nigeria, and he simply said that the problem with Nigeria, and he there said the rest of Africa, is simply and squarely one of leadership. And his leadership at all levels. Many times we think that politics is the only side of leadership. No. Leadership is at all levels. Why can't you, if you've run this beautiful club for 82 years and run it well, why can't that be upscaled and replicated in every other sector of Nigeria? Why? Why is it that in this micro environment, you do not care who is who in this club? Everybody has a sense of esprit de corps, a sense of camaraderie. You do not care from which ethnicity you come from. But when you want to run the club that is Nigeria, you now talk tribe, you now talk religion. Why? These are the uncomfortable questions that you must confront, because if you do not confront them, then Nigeria and Africa will continue to punch below her weight. I'm suggesting to you that the time is now that we must ask ourselves what it is that we can do. We have lamented for too long. Let us now ask ourselves what it is that Nigeria can do in the area of education. You know, many of you who are present in this assembly may be described as upper middle class or the top class. You are the best of the best. You are the crème de la crème of Nigeria. And when you are the crème de la crème of Nigeria, it means you are also the crème de la crème of Africa. But the question is, does Africa feel you? Does Africa feel you in the area of education? You know, not so long ago, I was at an African university. And at that university, they said that their greatest desire was that they wanted to be like Harvard and Cambridge. And I said, why do you want to be like Harvard? Why do you want to be like Cambridge? Why can't you not just be you? One of the things that we Africans must do is to exercise the ghost of low self-esteem and to wear the spirit of self-belief. The day we do that, that is the day that Africa will begin to grow. One of the things that gladdens my heart when I come to Africa, to West Africa, and particularly to Nigeria, is the manner in which the Nigerians dress. It gives one authenticity. It gives one confidence. But the question that I ask, are the clothes made in Nigeria? And if they are not made in Nigeria, it means the jobs are not in Nigeria. We have exported all our jobs to China. I'm asking us that if Africa and Nigeria is to be resuscitated to realize our potential, I want to see Nigeria grow in higher education. The other area in which Nigeria must provide leadership is in the area of the economy. You know, not so long ago, Nigeria was just about to provide leadership once again. And there was going to be a currency in this region called the eco. And we were all happy, those of us who love the continent of Africa. We were looking forward to the day when you would come here and I would have the eco, not the dollar. Something happened. I'm asking you who are shakers and movers. Shake those who are in government. Honorable Governor, Deputy Governor, ask yourself, 20 years from today, when you are no longer governor and history is written about you, what will they say? What will they say of your watch? What did you deliver? What did your administration deliver? History is harsh. It passes verdict that is without emotion. I'm asking all of us who are present here to ask those uncomfortable questions in the area of the economy. I'm asking those of us who are here to ask in the area of health. Why is it that young Africans are still dying of diseases that were conquered by Europe 100 years ago? What is happening to us? Why is it that when we have COVID, we have to import things from China? What became of our pharmaceutical industries? What became of our research institutes? Why do we pay our academics a pittance, peanuts, while our thieves thrive? Why? These are the questions that we must ask. We are talking at a time when we are talking about the Africa Agenda 2063 and Africa Continental Free Trade Area. What are we going to trade in if we are not manufacturing? A friend of mine, whom I met when I was being brought to this site, former military general, as we were moving, for some reason he said about electricity, that electricity in Nigeria is epileptic. And it is epileptic indeed. Not only in Nigeria, everywhere. There is not a single place that you travel to Africa in today and you are in a hotel room, within 1 hour electricity has gone. Electricity is not rocket science. But for some reason, we are unable to supply stable electricity. Who cast us? Who bewitched us? That we cannot do what must be done. These are the questions. Ladies and gentlemen, I know it ought to be celebration, but how can I speak the language of a wedding at a funeral? I refuse to do so. And I'll not speak for too long either, because the issues that I'm raising are known. They are known because they have been spoken about. They are known because your former leaders have spoken about them. If you look at the writings of your former presidents, the statements of your politicians, the writings of Olusegun Obasanjo in his book, My Watch, he says, among other things, that potential is nothing if it is not realized. I look at the early statements of Sahamadu Ben, the early statements of Obafemi Awolowo, the early statements of MKO Abiola, the early statements of the two Ojukus, the father and the son. And I ask myself, what can we do now? And I know what we can do. The first thing that we must do today to commemorate the 65 years since Nigeria regained independence is for Nigeria and Nigerians to make a solemn resolve that is no longer business as usual, that from today on, Nigeria is going to provide leadership, that she's going to provide leadership in the economic arena, that we are going to hear more Nigerians talk about the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, that we are going to hear Nigerians talking about the diversification of the economy, that we are going to hear Nigeria talk about agriculture, that we are going to hear Nigeria saying that we are no longer going to import our chicken from Brazil, that we are no longer going to import our rice from Pakistan, that we are no longer going to have on our tables anything called English tea, that we are no longer going to have Nescafe on our table, that we are no longer going to import palm oil from Malaysia, that we are going to diversify our economy, that we are going to revive our leather industry, that we are going to revive our industry so that we can create jobs here, that Nigeria is going to be open space for the rest of Africa, that Nigeria is not going to ask for visas, that Nigeria is not going to ask me for a landing pass when I come to Nigeria. How can the mother country ask me for a landing pass? That Nigeria is not going to ask me for visas when I come here. This is our Mecca, so to speak, and we should be able to come here without any hindrance whatsoever. Nigeria must do that if the continent of Africa is to realize our potential. And I'm suggesting that you must also open up your education. Our young men and women who are going to study in Europe and America, if there were no ASU strikes, we would be coming to Ibadan. We would be coming to Nsukka. We would be coming to the Lagos School of Business. We have enough intellectuals to make us come here. And you can make the money through education. I'm suggesting that you can do that. I'm also suggesting that your airline must now be revived. Nigeria cannot be a country without an airline. How can it be? It can't be done. There are many Nigerians. When I see Air Peace, when I see Air Bomb, I know that it can't be done. This is the time for it to be done. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish not to speak for too long. Let me now move toward the conclusion, because conclude I must. We are at a difficult time in Africa, and that time can only be resolved if we make a solemn resolve. Today, we must remember the words of those who are in the forefront of leadership. Today, I remember the words of a great South African, a man who you must know, Pixley Kaisa Kaseme. Speaking in the year 1906, he said that Africa must be regenerated. And I'm suggesting that it is Nigeria that must be in the forefront of the regeneration of Africa. I'm also hearing it being said in 1957, on the 6th day of March 1957, the Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah said that the independence of Ghana meant nothing. Today I'm saying that the new liberation of Africa will only happen if Nigeria is in the forefront. I'm urging you, you movers and shakers, go out there and move and shake the political leadership so that they are able to do that which is good and right. You have the ability, because if you don't do it, history will judge you harshly. Lastly, I want to conclude with these words of James M. Kwejiragri of Ghana, who said that we are eagles, but we have been fed on chicken feed for too long. Let us today abandon chicken feed. Let us become eagles that we may fly. We are lions who have had the taste for rats for too long. The time is now that we must reacquire the taste for antelopes. Only then will our lionhood be manifest. And I conclude with these words of Wole Soyinka, that a tiger does not shout about his tigritude. You follow the path of a tiger and you see a duiker dead and you know that some tigritude has emanated from there. So go out there and be what you must, lions. Go out there and be what you must, tigers. Go out there and be what you must, eagles. It can be done and it must be done, and it is you whom are movers and shakers who must do it. God bless you.
Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I am sure that if this was a speech given in the 17th or 18th century, we would have a revolution on our hands. That even the movers and shakers that have refused to be shaken and to be moved would finally get stirred up and you would all rise and say, never again. But we have the resilience to take it in and to domesticate what we have taken in and then to begin to follow through. Lumumba. Well, you know where you come from. You say, Hakuna Matata. But there is Matata here. That's what you just said. Matata meaning Akwe Matata. It's trouble. And it's time to reflect on what he has said. We have very distinguished gentlemen, experts in their own rights, people who are like Lumumba, who are searching for solutions. I thought I was moderating. Your job as MC doesn't also include giving me a code of conduct. Thank you, thank you. Now, we have three distinguished discussants who would have been treated to another session with Professor Bolade Akinyemi. He has asked me to convey his apologies that he's not able to be with us, but he's following all that we are doing, and at the appropriate time, we'll get the right responses from him. On your behalf, therefore, let me welcome first His Excellency Babatunde Raji Fashola. You know him. This is an esteemed Nigerian. He is a mover and a shaker. He has had everything that qualifies him to be exactly what Lumumba has described, a senior advocate of Nigeria, a former minister of the Federal Republic. Now, by today's standards, he would have been more than a coordinating minister, because you all remember how many portfolios he had. And most of all, a former governor of this state, the foremost state in Nigeria and in Africa, Lagos State. Your Excellency, the other day, we were treated to why Lagos is number one, not only in Africa, but also in the global south. And I know that the geopolitical dimensions of what Lumumba has presented here would be Lagos as the beginning. So let me invite our first discussant, and I'm coming to you now. We'll give each discussant 10 minutes. I know that you have prepared a great deal here, but of course, we trust you. Ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies, please welcome His Excellency. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Prof, for that very stimulating intervention. I think that I will start from the end And in the end, you said we must resolve. And some of those resolutions, perhaps, in my view, respectfully overlook the world that we now live in. A globalized world where no nation is an island anymore. But in starting from the end, you alluded, I think twice, to whether we were cursed or whether we were bewitched. Those thoughts have crossed many minds, mine included, but I don't believe in witchery or sorcery. I believe that we can achieve everything we set our minds to. And I think the first resolution I want to propose here is whether we can agree on what the Nigerian dream looks like. Can we agree? What is the Nigerian dream and what does it look like? And perhaps from there, if we have a measure of what the dream looks like, we can have an agreement on what success will look like. So that when we get to the destination of success, we can really say and thump our chest that we have hit here. Of course, success is not static, so we can redefine and set new goals. But those are important resolutions I want us to ponder about whether we can reach. Of course, the topic itself and the theme calls upon us as the leader of this continent to rise. And I want to dramatize that in a little way, just to perhaps contextualize the point I'm making about what success looks like. As Minister of Works, I served on many committees on the continent of Africa representing Nigeria. So I got to know that the leaders of Africa from a long time back had tried to connect this continent by road and by rail, apart from the airlines which he talked about. And there's a project called the Trans-African Highway. It contains 9 strategic highways to enable all of us to drive across the continent of Africa. But the instructive thing about those highways is that 3 of them end up in Lagos, out of 9 for the whole of the continent. So the significance of the challenge that Prof was posing in terms of our responsibility is somewhat demonstrated by just this data. That out of 9 Trans-African highways, 3 end up in Lagos. The Algiers-Lagos Highway, the Dakar-Lagos Highway, the Lagos-Mombasa Highway. And it was my lot as minister to do some work on some of these roads. So when Nigeria was building the Abuja-Kano Highway, 365 kilometers, they were contributing their share to the Lagos-Algiers Highway. When Nigeria was building the Lagos-Badagry Expressway, we were contributing our border share of the Lagos-Dakar Highway. And when we were building the bridge connecting us to Cameroon from Cross River, from Mfum, we were actually contributing our share to the Lagos-Mombasa Highway, which is the east-west road of the African continent, if you like. When Nigeria decided to embark on the Kano to Maradi rail line project, they were doing nothing different. They were standing up to be counted for their leadership responsibility. Of course, not a few of us raised questions then, why are you spending money in another part of the world outside your border? And I think the raison d'etre has somewhat been provided in Prof's speech. But I think that those challenges themselves raise enormous opportunities. And I say the world has changed in a way that the generation that has the fiscal energy to do this work must understand that, as Prof said, instead of lamenting, is to find the opportunities within the definition of what the Nigerian dream looks like, what success looks like, and what good leadership looks like. Because we have had all sorts of leaders, and we seem not to be satisfied with what we have had. And so can we define what the successful leader looks like, so that when we see him, we may recognize him, we may converge around him, so that we will not end up in those afterthoughts sayings, with due respect to the great men and women who said words to this effect like, the best president we never had. So I think it is important to then have resolutions around these very seemingly simple but profound ideas. What is our gold standard for good leadership? What is our definition of success? What is the Nigerian dream? And so I think if we, the movers and shakers of Nigeria, can come to an agreement on those very simple but profound things on this auspicious occasion, perhaps we can then begin to propagate to those who care to listen. Let me close by saying that something is moving, and I think that it is important for us to see it. I'll be talking to a generation of people younger than me, and I'm seeing something different from what I saw. So growing up as a teenager, I was socialized on music, dress, food, fashion, and culture that was totally un-Nigerian. And perhaps that is why he asked, who bewitched us? Because we wanted to have Afro that was American, we wanted to have bell bottom, we wanted to listen to music that was from yonder, and all the movies that we watched were either Chinese, Indian, or American. But I think that is changing. That tide is slowly turning. The movies that the generation below us are watching are largely being produced from here. The music they are listening to is not what we listen to. They're listening to the music they are making. The food they are making, and the debate on the continent about whose jollof rice is better, is symbolic of the attention we are paying now, not to beef burger and hot dog, but to indigenous cuisine. And I think that if we look back, not only did my generation consume that culture, we ultimately consumed the finished products that came with it. We consumed their shoes, their clothing, and their electronics. And I see that as that tide is turning, there's a unique opportunity to also now push with our music, our brands, push with our film, our finished products, push with our jollof rice, many finished goods that come from this part of the world. I think I will stop there. Thank you very much.
I think it deserves a round of applause. Thank you very much. We would have the opportunity to summarize at the end of it all. Let's quickly move to the next discussant. I need to let you know that he was my chairman of council at the University of Ibadan. And today we have loaned him to the University of Lagos, where he's pro-chancellor and chairman of council. So, as a senior advocate of Nigeria and one who has seen it all, he can move mountains when he talks. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome His Excellency, Chief Wole Olanipekun. Thank you, sir.
May I appreciate you? And then may I appreciate the Island Club for this very topical subject of state, for the summary. What exactly, let me modify, let me edit a bit. What do we as a nation? What is our vision? What is our mission? How do we want to get there? Professor Lumumba, God bless you. You have a good soul. You are a pride to the black man and to the black race. Over and over and over, Nigeria has been depicted as the whipping boy of the black race, as the one to be held responsible for either success or failure of the black race, for our past, for our present, and for our future. Well, it's good. And that reminds me of what that citizen of the world said about Nigeria in 2007. And please, Professor Lumumba, when I asked for a copy of your speech, of your lecture, I was told that you would talk as the Spirit directs. So I will also make presentation as the Spirit directs. Mandela said about Nigeria in an interview in 2007, just the way you have spoken this afternoon, and the way you have spoken, at least in the past three presentations of yours, about Nigeria. You know, I'm not very happy with Nigeria. I've made that very clear on many occasions. Yes, Nigeria stood by us than any other nation. But you let yourselves down, and Africa, the black race, very badly. Your leaders have no respect for their people. They believe their personal interests are the interests of the people. They take people's resources and in turn to personal wealth. There is a level of poverty in Nigeria that should be unacceptable. I cannot understand why Nigerians are not more angry than they are. What do young Nigerians think about your leaders and their country? You teach them history. You have lessons on how you passed leaders stood by us and gave us large amounts of money. You know, I hear from Angolans and Mozambicans and Zimbabweans how you open your hearts and their homes to them. I was in prison then, and it was, bemoaning the role Nigeria should play, the role Nigeria was not playing. And your presentation this afternoon is in like manner. But again, I'm not defending Nigeria. I can hold brief for Nigeria. Let us all come together. Let us remember what Shakespeare said in Julius Caesar, that the fault is not in our stars, but in ourselves. The fault is not in Nigeria alone. It's collective fault of Africa. You said something, that the African continents were not designed to succeed. Whether you look at it from the angle of what happened at Berlin Conference, where some people just looked at an imaginary map, and they were bequeathing Africa to themselves, struggling which one to pick, small countries, where they didn't know, where they didn't see, where they didn't read of. They knew nothing about Africa. And let us take Nigeria as an example. They did not want Nigeria to succeed, whether from before amalgamation and during amalgamation and up to now. Somebody woke up somewhere from her bed telling a mistress, telling her, her boyfriend that, look, let us amalgamate Nigeria. Different people from different backgrounds, multinationals, different ethnic groups. Yes, they did that. But what have we done thereafter? My brother asked this question: what exactly is the project of Nigeria about? I've been very passionate about it. And he also mentioned governance and leadership. Permit me, because you mentioned one or two names. When we were there, when we were growing up, we learned so much about Africans and Pan-Africanists. Nkrumah of Ghana, Jomo Kenyatta from your place, Abat Lutuli, Jomo Kayenta, I've mentioned it, Julius Nyerere, all of them. I read this book, Let My People Go. I read it when I was in primary school or so. We were doing history. We are changing, and gentlemen, this has been my forte for quite some time. I'm so passionate about it. You cannot play Hamlet without the Prince of Denmark. We must do it, say it as it is, because this is an elite cup, and Nigeria elites are here. You pose some questions. Continent not designed to succeed. Post-colonial African states designed to fail. Who bewitched us? These are difficult questions. Where are we going for? Where are we heading for? Gentlemen, Awolowo said, you also mentioned Awolowo. He said it over and over and over. Let's go straight to the point. We will get nowhere. If your shoe is flat, don't keep on repairing it. Throw it off. Buy a new set of shoes. Look at the garments of Nigeria you spoke about, so glowingly, so gleefully. You say you like our garments. Whether the textiles are from Nigeria or not, let's forget about it. But if the garments keep on wearing out, tearing off, and you keep on saying you go to your tailor every day, if the garments become nauseating, throw the garment off. For every country of the world, for every nation of the world, the Bible talks of when you pray that tells you are born again. Yoruba will say, "Dear Tumbi." Nigeria must be born again. And by what I mean, contextually, structurally, constitutionally, legally. Some people are talking that no, it is not the Constitution, it is people that matter. Come on, take that to the Marines. I am a lawyer. If you say large as diverse as Nigeria, we cannot run a unitary government. It is only federalism that can save us. Awolowo said it. Everybody keeps on saying it. Government and good governance. I was the president of the NBA in 2002 to 2004. I led a delegation of the NBA to then Mr. President, President Obasanjo, my big brother, my big uncle from the Yoruba axis within Nigeria. I told him, I said, Mr. President, this constitution will not work. He didn't want to hear it because he was president. If you read his latest book, Nigeria Yesterday and Tomorrow, he's now advocating for restructuring. When do we learn? Is it after we leave office or when we are in office? When you also look at Nigeria, the politics of Nigeria today is not politics of what will benefit the people. It's politics of self-interest. My people, your people, our turn, your turn. Let us be realistic about it. Tinubu is the president today. Whether he does anything right, some people will say it's not right. Not because it's not right, but because they believe it doesn't benefit their own people. Let's be fact. Let's be fair to ourselves. Let fair be fair. Let foul be foul. Apologies to Shakespeare. Then what do? We're in a country whereby politics is about self-interest, what you can acquire, what you can amass for yourself, not for what you do for the people. A politics where you don't believe in any manifesto, when you don't have any orientation, when you don't have any principle, is anything goes. Let people who are in opposition today learn even from the opposition party quote unquote, contextually too, by Tinubu. I'm not here to praise him, but I've been his lawyer, I'm not defending him. But because we are talking, and we're talking about leadership, and we're talking of what a one-party state, the evil that can bring to a state, to a nation. What we have, when we don't have opposition, Opposition that is so, they are ice cream lickers. Anything goes, anything comes. No orientation, no focus. But for Tinubu, this democracy would have collapsed. Governor Fashola is there. Ladoja was crowned as the 44 Olubadan a few days ago. Perhaps he would not have been alive. Fashola knows about it. It was Tinubu as opposition leader, though they were not in the same political party, who called people like us and said, look, this should not be done. You cannot remove a governor. It was he who put him somewhere in BTC. Ladoja didn't want to contest that deposition or removal. You talk of opposition leaders like Oshiomhole, like Mimiko, they were not in the same political party. He was encouraging them. He resisted a one-party state. Where are the opposition people today? Where are they? Who are they? Where are they operating from? When the president then announced over the radio that vice president, or when it was announced over the radio or television that vice president has been removed, he called me. He said, look, lawyer, it was it. They were not in the same political party. When the vice president was taken before the Code of Conduct Tribunal, he called on people like us, go and raise the best tea. But where are we heading for? I'm not saying all this to praise him. Your Excellency, when you were to build, may God bless you, this Ikoyi Lekki Bridge, you whispered to me, you said, Egbon, help me tell President Moru Yaradua that we want to construct that road because there is a river there. It goes down. I went to the president. I told him, he said, what's my business? Fashola is doing very well. Let him do whatever he wants to do. Is that where we are now? Today, where we are unitarizing the country. You asked a question, very pertinent, and very germane to what Professor has submitted. Nigeria of tomorrow. Yorubas will say, there is no way. That's very important. I talk like a lawyer, and I don't pretend about it. There is no way where you can govern Nigeria unitarily. We have to liberalize our unitarism. United States of America was a colony of Britain. They decided to have a constitution. No constitution is perfect anyway. But they decided to have a constitution, appreciating what they suffered under the colonial masters. That constitution has worked as the way it is for so many years. Nigeria today, we do not have a constitution that will take us to the Canaan of our dream. And what the National Assembly is doing, we are passion. It's a question of us coming to sit down and reason together. God himself did not say, come, let us reason together. A constitution of a country is always negotiated. You come together, you appreciate yourselves. How do we live together? Is it parliamentary you want? Is it this presidential? And thereafter, we say, okay, this is the way we have to manage ourselves. Nigeria, unity that must be in diversity, not diversity in disunity. It cannot be the other way around. I'm looking at it now from the jurisprudential angle and some other angles, but then you have given me 10 minutes. I don't know whether I've overshot the 10 minutes. I don't know. But, but I want to plead on this occasion too that, Professor, please help us appeal to our African countries. If you say someone is an elder, in this part of the country we respect elders, respect Nigeria, respect our feelings, respect also that we are human beings. In Ghana, we are being chased out. We are being abused here and there. In some, we are being ejected. And we are talking of playing the role of the... In South Africa, if you go, you cannot take a dime out That's not fair to other African countries. That's not fair to the big brother. That you say, okay, in the church, you are saying, oh, let us be orderly. Let us maintain orderliness. Then you see Baba Joe in front. And you see a young man, he comes, you just slap Baba Joe palm. And you say, let us appreciate ourselves. Let us understand ourselves. Let us have self-respect for ourselves. Let us have feelings. Then the question is this. Please, let us appreciate ourselves. Because I'm saying this, in the series of lectures you have been given, and I've read out what Papa said, Mandela. Please, mutual feelings, respect should be mutual, reciprocity of respect. And finally, to we Africans, when you read the history of creation, God respected Africans. God loved Africans. When I look at my Bible, within the first 2 chapters of the book of Genesis, you start seeing Ethiopia, Ethiopia, Ethiopia. Then I keep on asking myself, so Ethiopia was in existence right from the time of creation. When you talk of what is Garden of Eden today, it was within Africa. When you talk of the Queen of Sheba visiting Solomon, that Queen of Sheba was from Ethiopia, went to Israel. And when you look at the constitution of Ethiopia, before these military people came in, it said whoever will be the emperor must be from the lineage of the association between the Queen of Sheba and King Solomon. And again about Africa, generally. I will now round up. I'm sorry, Mr. Moderator. Look at us in Africa. When we concentrate on Nigeria, when we are not saying anything about other African nations, look at our neighbors over here in the Sahel region. Look at the problems they are giving us in Nigeria. They have 3 or 2 days ago, they said they have DAPA, that is, they have left the International Court of Justice. They have formed their own union. They might be right, they might be wrong. Look at what is happening in Sudan. Not Africans making. Look at what is happening even in your Kenya. Is it Nigerians making? So let everybody also take care of his own apartment, of his own corridor, of his own axis. My dear Professor, my dear
Nigeria remains the beacon of the black race. And we've proved that time and time and time again. When I think of the liberation of Southern Africa, particularly Namibia, Angola, Mozambique, South Africa, and the commitment that Nigeria made and the efforts Nigeria gave and the total involvement in ensuring that if any one African is in bondage, us all are in bondage. We stood up for our brethren. Rather unfortunately, the leaders of those countries that we helped to liberate either did not school their people in what Nigeria has done for their liberation. We have our people been taunted, been thrown out, been disgraced in the countries where we spent money and time and blood. I can remember in my time as foreign minister, traveling around Africa, how many times did I miss an aircraft? All in the name of the emancipation of the African race. And we are proud to have done that. Yes, Nigeria must lead the charge. And we are not shy in leading the charge. We led the charge when it counted in Liberia. I was foreign minister. I negotiated it and went with my troops and so on. And we brought peace to Liberia. When we did, the Americans and the British and so on came behind under the umbrella of the UN to deride Nigeria of the benefit of our commitment to saving our people in Liberia. Same for Sierra Leone. Now, the point here is, we within our country, Nigeria, We are yet to coalesce as a nation. We talk Yoruba, talk Igbo, talk Hausa, talk Igbo, and so on. But yes, there is value in ethnicity, but there's no value in ethnicism. That's the point SAN Waleolani Kwekun was just making here now. Have a country that will remain as strong as we want it to be when we are pulling apart along tribal and religious lines. Therefore, I join you, Wale, in calling on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, a Democrat that we all know, a man who fought for federalism as governor of Lagos State when President Obasanjo stopped his allocation because he created more local governments to be able to oversee the governance of his people properly. He went to court, and the Supreme Court gave judgment on his biddings. Therefore, what the point we must make over and over again is this: Nigeria cannot run as a unitary state. Our founding fathers, in their wisdom, created three regions in the first instance and the fourth later. They were not stupid. They understood that unity is, like our government says, in diversity. Therefore, we must return to the proper people's constitution. I'm a military general, for God's sake. We were the ones that turned the thing over, all right? But I must say here that whatever policies we put in place, we did believe it was best for the country. But time may have shown that it isn't the best. Therefore, this country calls for a change. That change must come. All right? And our president, our beloved president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has the greatest opportunity to make this country better. And we plead to him to please convene a proper constitutional conference in which all the ethnic groups in this country would come together and negotiate a better Nigeria. Now, for Africa, I am proud to be an African. Anywhere I went in my time, I wore my Nigerian toga. Proud to be Nigerian, proud to be African. I never, ever allowed any foreign minister, white, black, or yellow, to deride Africa whenever I was there. And I'm sure my colleagues have taken over from me as foreign ministers are still defending that. We will continue to do that, but our brother Africans must also respect us. I mean, we did what we did, not asking for reward, but we did for the benefit of us all. And therefore, if your big brother has helped you out of trouble, the least you can do is show respect. So African countries must show love to Africans. You can't kick us out and expect us to continue to serve your mission and your desire. Because the more you put us down, the more the world puts down the black race. For as long as Africa, for as long as Nigeria remains on the stool, the whole of Africa will be on the stool. And we must get up at this point in time and work to make our country a better country, work to make Africa the bastion of development and respect. We're going there. Thank you.
Ali Mazrui was coming from the standpoint of a statement that had been made a little earlier by the African-American John Henry Clark. Henry Clark had said that when there was the explosion of independence in Africa, each African country adopted systems of governance that were inherited from the colonizer, and that no African country will ever succeed by mimicking those systems. To answer your question, therefore, part of the thing that many African countries must do is to rethink governance. And I can't agree with you more. Nigeria, purely from a political science academic standpoint, claims, as many countries in Africa do, that we are federal. But when you look at the practice, it is not federal. The same is to be seen in Ethiopia. We also define ourselves as democratic. The Democratic Republic of Congo says we are the Democratic Republic of Congo. The question is, what is democracy? My submission is we must have the courage as African countries to rethink governance, to even ask ourselves whether there are elements within our traditional governance systems that can be infused, adopted, and adapted to address the post-colonial states, which, as we all agree, are artificial states. The second issue that I would want to deal with is xenophobia. Nigerians have been the victims of xenophobia in South Africa. Right now, we see what is happening in Ghana, where the Ghanaians are telling the Nigerians to go, and one does not hear the voice of the African Union. One does not hear the voice of the political class. I'm suggesting that the time is now that we must up the ante. It is here in Lagos, Nigeria, in 1980 that we came up with the Lagos Plan of Action on how to re-engineer the continent of Africa. It is time that we must ask ourselves, how do we re-engineer the continent of Africa politically, economically, and otherwise? And lastly, this is what I want to say. We must also look at the area of education. What kind of education are we offering across the continent of Africa? Africa is still the only continent that is referred to in these terms, Anglophone, to mean those which are English-speaking, Francophone, to mean those that speak French, Lusophone, to mean those that speak Portuguese, and Hispanophone, to refer to Equatorial Guinea, which speaks Spanish. Some even say Arabophone, and some say Sinophone. There is no other continent in the world. The question is, we who are sitting here, we who are elite, beyond lamentation, what have we done? Because many times, we who are the elite, we speak with two sides of our mouths. There is one